at the time, EDG was much smaller. We have almost 30 people now. At the time, we were 5 or 6 people, and so really Martin, Tanner, who are the founding principals and landscape architects, and myself were the 3 main leaders of the company. We were involved in every project throughout, at that time in our firm. And so, yeah, every meeting, all the details, I drew all the plans for everything that we were a part of. On the engineering side, I drew them. Landscape architecture side, we had a few folks helping, but working with, Martin and Tanner were working on their side. They also drew a lot of the landscape architecture plans as well. EDG on the engineering side, we're involved in, landscape too. It's the layout. So as we walk through this beautiful valley, we help figure out the kind of the best flow for the paved trails. Worked collaboratively with the design team and the ownership team to come up with where the parking would want to go, where driveways would go, where the trail wants to go through the middle of the valley, and then also siting the buildings. So working together all on that, that was a big part of what EDG was doing. I think one of the bigger challenges for the homestead building was helping to define that with the city. And you've got a coffee shop restaurant that is in the middle of the woods, far away from fire access, far away from the road, and trying to work closely with the city and the fire marshal to help them understand what that's going to be like, how it's going to operate. That was a significant challenge to get that approved. Additionally, there were no utilities serving that building, so we had to bring a significant water line all the way down from the water tower and create a little road. If you know the access road that's behind there, that's where the water line is, and the electrical line coming from the city grid. So a lot of people don't know that it even exists, or that realize that it was required for us to have a building restaurant down there. Oh, I mean, it's just amazing that you're in this remote, natural area, but so close to downtown Bentonville. I mean, I think that was the biggest surprise. Like, we had spent a lot of time in Bentonville, but never had been on this property, and realize that it's here was pretty amazing. And I think that was the biggest first impression, is like, how does this wooded place go on, kind of untouched all these years? And then the next thing was just like, well, how do we make it accessible? How do you provide an amenity within this space? I mean, that was what we were challenged with as a design team, was to bring it to life, really. Obviously, the family history was really neat. I don't know all the specifics of the timing of when they were here, but to know there was a homestead here, and the existing barn was still there when we started the project, and that was a big part of the design, was to save that and to improve it and make sure that it's a nod back to the history. Stories of like that there was farming activity down in the valley, and that the family had all that. I know there's some potentially some Native American history along this little the creek, Polar Creek, and so I mean, it's a fascinating valley and a beautiful place to be in. Well, it's a big team effort. I think they call it a design team, and that includes architects, landscape architects, engineers, and then the ownership team, all coming together, working collaborative to create this vision and refining it along the way. So like at various stages, we would be trying to implement certain programming and design elements, and we meet with the ownership team, get some feedback and come back and tweak things, and so it's an iterative process. And I think the landscape architecture team, which is Martin and Tanner from our office, they're the ones who lay out the initial framework of what how does the trail interact with the roadway? How is it interacting with the natural environment? all of that is sort of initially laid out by the landscape architecture team, and then as the engineers, we attempt to poke holes in that. Like, well, maybe you don't go here because there's a natural feature that we want to avoid, or that doesn't work because there's a utility. We have sewer and gas mains that run down the middle. Maybe there's some other constraints that we need to work around. That's kind of how the engineering team works. All that's collaborative with the architecture team to design the building and have it land in a place that also connects with the land, it connects with the trails and the pathways that we're designing. So yeah, I mean, it's definitely a big team effort. Martin, our founder of EDG, is definitely a visionary and has those kind of moments much more than I do as an engineer. I'm a little more technical minded, so I like to think I'm creative in many ways, but also I'm not one that can see a blank sheet of paper and just come with that vision. So I think that's why we work so well together. Is I think how the trail, the main paved trail that runs down the center of the valley, the way that kind of works seamlessly with the natural environment and the creek, and is kind of braided with the stream. I think that's one of the things that I enjoy the most when I come out here, and just how that experience is curated with the bridges, and as you approach different areas, you get a different experience. To me, that's one of the best things about the Kohler Valley, and the part that we were a part of that I'm proud of. Plus, I think the campground itself is just one of the things that I've enjoyed the most as I come out here with my kids and family. And we've had 2 different years where we've made a main effort to come out here and camp as a family and spend the day and enjoy it. And I forget all about the time I spent designing it and just enjoying the space, which is really makes me feel proud. Yeah, I mean, I think that's one of the big challenges we had with that, is to try to preserve as much as possible, but also create spaces that people want to enjoy and be a part of and have access to. That's a big part of our ethos as a firm in EDG, and so, when you get us working on a project, that's kind of like that's our default, is to be thoughtful about the natural environment, to identify the natural features and work around those and highlight them, thinking about stormwater as a feature and not something that you just pipe and send away. So I like to think that's a main reason we were hired to work on this project, because it is such an important natural environment that that's why we were hired to look at it. So I think balancing that with the contracting team is one of the things that we had to work hard on our drawings, to make sure that we're very clear in the definition of where the contractors are supposed to be and where they're not, and so that you're defining those corridors and they're only working in the zones that they're supposed to be, because a lot of them would just prefer to, and not to think that they're not thinking about the environment. It's easier to clear it and then build it all back and not have to work around trees and things like that. So